Wouldn't it be nice if we all had our own Mary Poppins? You know, someone to chim-chimaroo their way through the house, make sure the jobs are done, the meals are cooked, and the children are raised perfectly. Unfortunately for 99% of us, this isn't the case. We've still got the mortgage and bills to pay. So, daycare in Australia is one of the only realistic options we can have. Now, I've spent 15 years in early childhood in Australia. I've seen the brilliant daycares, the one where children thrive and parents feel completely at ease. And I've seen the ones that looked fine on the surface but had serious problems underneath. The difference between these two types of centres isn't always obvious when you do a tour. So most parents don't actually have much of an idea of what to ask for. Today, I'm going to change that. I'm going to give you the 10 red flags that I would look for if I was looking at a daycare centre. The things that the brochures don't show and the things that the websites don't tell you, but something that I, having worked in the industry for so long, I've noticed and picked up on. And here's something else. When I toured daycare centres for my daughters, I purposefully didn't tell them that I worked in early childhood. And some of the stuff that I found really surprised me. And I'm going to share what those things were in this video. So stay to the end because I've got a free printable tour checklist for you guys in the description. So let's get on with it.
Okay, so first up, we have a low or working towards national quality standard. Now, every single daycare, vacation care, after school care, family daycare centre across the whole of Australia gets assessed and rated against what's called the national quality standards. Now, there's 7 areas across this, some of which include educational program and practice, relationships with children, health and safety, and many more. So, there's 5 different ratings these centres can get. There's excellent, there's exceeding, there's meeting the standard, working towards the standard, and in some cases, significant improvement required. That usually means they've got about 30 days to fix the problems or they're going to get shut down. Now, a working towards rating means the centre has been assessed and has been found to be below the national standard in at least one or more areas. That's not a minor thing. That's a regulator telling you that this centre isn't meeting the minimum expectations of your child's care. Now, you can check any centre's rating online. It's a public domain. So, I encourage you strongly, before your tour, to go and type in ACEQA, that's ACECQA, service search into Google. And once you're on that website, there's a small box which says keywords. Type in the postcode of the centre you're looking at. Every single childcare with that postcode then comes up. You can click on it and you can see how they did in their assessment and rating. I'd strongly encourage you to do it. It gives you a bit more of an idea before you go about what that centre might be like. Now, I've seen some videos going, but there's some centres out there who just, put out all the nice pens and fake it before the assessors come. To be honest, I've been through assessment and rating a few times. Adding a few nice pencils onto a table is like adding a couple of sprinkles onto the top of a cake. If that cake's rubbish anyway, a couple of sprinkles isn't going to change an assessor's mind. So, if a centre though is rated excellent or exceeding, that's genuinely meaningful. That centre has gone far above and beyond the minimum requirement. Now, assessors and raters are quite understaffed though across Australia, so some centres may not have been assessed and rated in a while. This is just a good base point to start off. So, first up, this is the one I'd be checking out. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is staff who don't connect with the children. Now, honestly, this is the one I look for the closest, and he'll tell you everything you need to know about a daycare within the first 5 minutes. Now, when you walk into a room, what do the staff do? Are they down on the children's level? Do they make eye contact? Are they talking to them warmly? Do they even know that child's name? Or are they standing at the edge of the room? Are they talking to each other? Are they distracted by paperwork they need to do? Are they talking amongst themselves? The relationship between the staff and the children is the single most important thing in a childcare centre. Everything else, the facilities, the resources, the curriculum, is secondary to whether the adults in that room genuinely care and connect with the children who are in there. 15 years in the industry has told me that the staff make the centre. 80% of any business, I would say, is the staff. Not the building, not the equipment, but the people. Watch them carefully. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is high staff turnover. This one you need to ask directly because they won't mention it on a tour. Don't necessarily ask the director. Ask the staff in the room how long they've been for. Ask maybe 3 or 4 different staff members so you get a general idea, of what the staff turnover is like. High staff turnover is a significant red flag for a couple of reasons. First of all, consistency of care matters for young children enormously. Children form attachments to their caregivers, and those relationships support their emotional development and their sense of security. If the faces keep changing, then those attachments can't form properly. And secondly, high staff turnover is usually a big red flag and signals that something is wrong with the centre's culture or management. Happy, well-supported staff usually stay. Staff who feel undervalued or overworked leave. A revolving door of staff is often a symptom of deeper problems that you can't see on a tour. So ask the question. If they're evasive or uncomfortable answering, that's a red flag in itself. Okay, so next up, the centre feels wrong at both extremes. Now, I want to talk about 2 opposite red flags here because both are equally concerning. The first is obvious, just chaos, distressed crying that isn't being responded to, children running around unsupervised, just a general feeling of disorder. That is a red flag most parents would spot. But the second one, most parents would actually miss, and I've seen it with my own eyes. Now, I've been at centres where everything has been prim and proper and exactly in its place and super tidy. But to the point where, say there's like a thing on the floor, which is in a certain pattern, as soon as a child moves it, a staff member needs to put it back in the exact same place. They're more focused on the centre being prim, proper, and tidy to perfection than focusing on the actual children who are playing there. Now, a well-run childcare has a purposeful energy, busy, engaged, warm. You can feel the difference between a room that's thriving and one that's either out of control or rigidly controlled. Trust that feeling and pay close attention to how upset children are responded to as well. Staff getting down to their level, comforting them, talking them through it, that's what you want to see. Okay, so the 5th point I want to make is evasive or defensive answers to your questions. Now, a good childcare centre welcomes questions. They're proud of what they do and they want you to understand it. Directors and educators at quality centres will answer your questions openly, honestly, and with enthusiasm. A red flag centre will give you vague answers, change the subject, become defensive, or make you feel like you're asking too much. So when my little one was younger, we toured one of these centres, and I distinctly remember asking a few questions when I was walking around with me and my partner. They would purposefully turn away from me and answer the question to my partner because she was the mum and she was female, completely blanking me when I answered those questions. That was a huge red flag. Now, you're not being difficult by asking questions. You're being a good parent. This is your little one we're talking about here. You want to make sure they're in a place where they feel safe, secure, and supported. Any centre worth enrolling your child in will respect that and answer you clearly. Some specific questions that might be worth asking. How do you communicate with parents about the child's day? What happens if my child is having a hard time settling? How do you handle challenging behaviour? Can I see your current and national quality standards self-assessment? If they're evasive on any of those, walk away. Now, the 6th red flag I want to talk about is a centre that is dirty, not messy, and there is a difference. So, whilst you're there, walk into the bathrooms, if there's no children there, of course. Walk into the nappy change area. Look at the kitchen if you can, and check out the outdoor area. I'm not looking for spotless at 3 p.m. when children have been there all day. I'm looking to see where the systems and standards have been put in place. Now, my little one, she comes home from daycare and her t-shirt and her pants smothered in paint. That's a good sign because it shows that they've been creative and that. What isn't a good sign are children who have got dirty nappies, whose noses have been running all day and are just generally grimy and filthy. There's a difference between messy and filthy. Are nappy change areas actually clean and properly used? Are hand washing facilities accessible and actually used? Is food preparation separate from any play areas? Is the outdoor space well maintained and free from hazards? Hygiene in daycare is highly linked to illness rates. Young children's immune systems are still developing and they're in close contact with many other children. A centre with poor hygiene practices is a centre where your child will be sick more often. Okay, so number 7 is inadequate outdoor space or outdoor time. This one matters more than a lot of people realise. Outdoor play, it's not a reward or an extra. It is a fundamental concept of healthy child development, physically, cognitively, emotionally, and socially. Ask specifically, how much time do children get to spend outdoors each day? Is outdoor play available, regardless of weather within reason? See, if it's raining, just pack a raincoat and gumboots. If it's sunny, really hot, prepare shorts and a t-shirt and a sun hat. Children should be able to play outdoors in all sorts of weather. They can get creative in so many different ways, playing with so many different mediums if the weather affects it. Look at the outdoor space itself as well. Is it well equipped with a variety of play options? Is it age appropriate and safely maintained? Is there shade? That's a big one in Australia. Are there natural elements like grass, plants and sand? A centre that keeps children inside most of the day and treats outdoor play like an optional treat, that's a red flag. Children need to move, explore and connect with the natural environment. A quality centre makes this a priority every single day. Okay, so number 8 is no real evidence of a real educational programme. Every licensed childcare centre in Australia is required to implement something called the Early Years Learning Framework. This is a nationwide thing that guides educators in supporting children's learning and development. Look for evidence that this is actually happening. Are their learning intentions visible? Can educators talk about what they've been doing with the children and why? Is there documentation of children's learning? And here's something really specific to look for that most parents would never question. Now, I've seen centres, especially in babies' rooms, where there's artwork around the walls. That's great. But when each artwork looks exactly the same, that's a concern. I've seen multiple artworks where children's footprints or handprints have been used to make a nice colourful pattern. That's not your child making art. Those are the staff members making art using your children as tools. Now, don't get me wrong. It is cute to have something with your child's handprint or footprint on for later on in life. But when that's the core basis of an educational program, that is a huge red flag. A centre that is genuinely implementing quality education will be excited to show you. They'll point to the good quality artwork on the walls and explain the thinking behind it as well. They'll talk about the interests that they've been following with the children. And if they really know your child, you'll be able to recognise your child's interests in what they're saying. Okay, so the 9th red flag I want to talk about are staff qualifications you can't actually verify. Now, under the National Quality Framework, which is where those national quality standards sit, childcare centres are required to have a certain percentage of qualified staff. Every room must have at least one educator with an approved early childhood qualification. Ask directly, what qualifications do your educators use? Is your director a qualified early childhood teacher? Do you have bachelor qualified teachers working directly with the children? You're not being intrusive by asking this. Qualifications are a regulatory requirement and any legitimate centre will answer clearly. Now look, there is a staffing crisis at the moment. My qualification is a Diploma of Children's Services. That is the minimum which is required to be a centre director, which I have been. A centre though that gets defensive about staff qualifications is not meeting its obligations, and that matters for your child's care. Qualifications aren't everything. I've known brilliant educators with certificates and mediocre ones with degrees. But qualifications combined with genuine passion and engagement with children is the gold standard that you are looking for. And the final red flag, and this might be the most important one of all, trust your instincts. After 15 years nearly in the industry, I have enormous respect for parental instinct. The parents that always come to me worried about their child's centre, who can't always articulate exactly why, they're almost always right that something's off. You spend more time with your child than anyone. You know them. You know how they are when they're settled and happy versus when something's wrong. If your child is consistently distressed at drop-off, beyond the normal settling period, that is, if they come home different, is something in your gut is saying this isn't right, trust that instinct. And on the tour itself, if you walk in and something feels off, even if you can't name it, even if everything on paper looks fine, keep looking. There are good childcare centres out there. You don't have to settle for one that doesn't feel right. I want to end by saying this. There are wonderful childcare centres out there in Australia. Genuinely brilliant ones, staffed by people who love children and are exceptional at what they do. The 10 red flags I've shared with you today are not meant to frighten you. They're meant to empower you to find these brilliant centres. You are your child's greatest advocate. You are the expert on your child. And armed with the right questions and the right knowledge, you can absolutely find a centre where your child will be safe, happy, and genuinely thriving. So look, the free printable childcare centre tour checklist, that was quite a mouthful. It's in the description below anyway. Take it with you on your next tour and work through it in real time. Look, if this has helped you today, please hit subscribe. Or if there's a parent who you know could do with watching this, please share this video with them as well. I've got so much more coming for Aussie parents just trying to navigate this new world of parenting. And if you're currently searching for a centre and feeling overwhelmed, hang in there. The right one is out there. And don't forget, let's all walk in love and peace, guys. Thank you.